You're on.
All right, so welcome, fellow cartographers. Today is map day. This really, talk about what's going on over in that part of the world. You're seeing pictures of this all over the place if you watch the news. So what we want to do is draw out the Holy Land, and they say the more senses you get involved with something, the more you're likely to retain it. So perhaps if through this exercise, it helps you retain kind of where geographically some of this stuff is and what it looks like. When you hear about it in church and sermons and scripture readings, some of this might come to mind. So for those watching with us at home, what you're going to need is a blank sheet of paper, and you're going to need a pencil, and you're going to need some kind of a straight edge something or other to draw a straight line.
Thank you.
So, just for the sake of time, we will keep going. Those watching at home, you can pause and catch up as we go. So first thing you're going to do, what we want to have at the end of the day is a grid of 8 by 8, 8 across and 8 top to bottom. So take it and fold it in half this way. Fold it in half this way.
I thought we were gonna
You need PowerPoint or?
draw the Dead Sea and the Jordan River.
Oh, not yet, okay.
And Galilee.
And then fold it again, and then fold it a third time. So by the end of the day, it looks like this. That's step one. Fold it, not lengthwise, but vertically, right? Vertically once, vertically twice, vertically a third time.
Twice.
So you go from here to here and half, half again, half again. Okay? Now, you're gonna do the same thing, but this way. Half, half, 3 times, till you end up with a little square like this.
No paper airplanes, Jim. I was gonna make a ship. Three
Mary, I
times?
think you might need another sheet of paper there. Let me see.
We got that much. 3 times.
Okay, so, no, go back. Go back to where it was just like this.
Yeah, but I'm trying to do it easily.
Oh. I've never done it easily before. If you could figure that out.
Now, okay, I've got half.
Now I'll go this way,
All right,
this way, and this way.
all right.
So at the end of the day, you should have an 8 by 8 kind of a grid, if you count the squares.
Again. And then again.
It would take us 10 minutes to
It's
fold
pretty
our
thick
paper.
for that. Start early.
That's that, there you go, that's why we started
The
early.
easy way, yeah, he did it the hard way.
And if once you get it to 8 by 8, just kind of flatten it out, you'll still be able to see the grid.
8 by 4 by 8. I didn't fold it enough times.
And we'll just take as long as we need so everyone has, and if you need help,
We can use the fold again.
What else do you do this time?
just to make the grid.
I don't know.
We could have just printed grid paper. That's not as
What did you do
fun.
when you got, what did you do when you got it to start?
Now, so you got you folded it this way now too? Okay, now open it up and just kind of flatten it out. And you're gonna have 8 across and 8 up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How about that? We're 8 all 4. All right, good for you. I did it.
You did it, see?
I know. We got rivers and valleys here.
This is worse.
If someone needs help, I can walk around and help.
Help, help.
We're in kindergarten.
Yeah, I need a teacher to tell me what to do. Show me what to do. No, all
see mine.
right, now I think I got it.
Got it?
Yeah, you do 8, but.
Anyone not have it? Anyone need some assistance? 8 by, if it's not 8 by 8, you're gonna be screwed up. So you gotta start, as we said in lesson 1, you have to start at the right place.
Alright,
16.
All right, sounds like everyone is where they need to be.
no,
Here we go.
okay.
So there's your 8 by 8. I did this by hand a long time ago, but they're not perfect squares, as you can see. But it's close enough. Draw a line from the bottom left corner up to the first, second, third box in the top left. See that line? Bottom left corner, the northeast part of that third box in the top left.
So you run my hand.
See?
Over there.
Who says we can't have fun in Bible class?
Did you make a score?
Once you have drawn that line, what you can do is make a bunch of little squiggly lines over there and call that the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea. Some of this print's gonna be pretty small. Med Sea, or however you wanna spell it. That's the Mediterranean Sea.
We got the Mediterranean.
I'm sure there was way easier ways to do it. Probably took me way too long.
Okay,
Everyone there? Everyone good? Mediterranean Sea? All right. Another line from the top right of your grid to the second box on the bottom.
go to my second.
Top right corner to the corner of that second box on the bottom. And over here, instead of having little waves, you're gonna make a bunch of dots. And this is gonna be the Arabian Desert. The Arabian Desert. Whatever you wanna make to make it look like a desert. I did dots.
Just use this textured shade.
Back memories of old confirmation. Fun
Supposed
stuff.
to go draw a camel, Fred.
Dromedary. Bunch of Bedouins walking around.
Put it in a waste.
My drawing skills are
Yeah,
very,
right.
very limited.
Palm trees. All right, we got our Arabian Desert. Now, the bottom, pretty much across almost all the bottom, that's another desert. You see you have one grid that's open, that's the third square from the bottom right. That's the Sinai Desert. So you leave this third one open right here, but all the rest of this
What happened?
is the Sinai Desert, S-I-N-A-I.
Across here.
Fred, make a desert.
Your big head is in my way, by the way.
Are we gonna be
Just not
graded
tall
on
enough.
this?
Uh,
For
I
neatness?
could if you want.
Yeah, neatness and,
So yeah, at seminary then, we did this, and then the quiz was, or it was a test or a quiz, but it was, here's a blank sheet of paper, and now draw it all out. And
You don't need it.
it does make you remember it, for sure.
oh, yeah.
Folded it, so I can see it.
You were 45 years old at that time.
Sinai.
Mine is a little sharper. So that's the Sinai Desert. Desert is Sinai. All right, anybody need to, good, we can move on? All right, so, from the right-hand corner of the Sinai Desert, draw a big oval on the two grid sections above it. That's the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
So if you're going from left to right, it's second row from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth column over. That one and then the one above it, that's the Dead Sea. If you're going from the right,
I
it's the-
learned there's a little cut into it on the right-hand side, right? Or is it the left-hand side where it's not perfectly oval or whatever, you know?
just make, yeah, close enough.
Symbolism.
There.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exact.
You are correct, it is not perfectly oval geographically.
Yeah, there's a cut into it, right? I'm just razzle dazzling you with what I remember from grade
Impressed.
school, yeah.
Get that, once in a while, up is beautifully,
Just in case you didn't know you were being razzle dazzled.
how's this look?
Just to see.
Some people are blessed in artistry and others are not.
S-I-N.
All right, we got the Dead Sea.
S-I-N. S-I-N. Oh, S-I-N.
Now, that's not a good circle, but I drew it by hand.
Okay.
That's the Sea of Galilee. So go up north from the Dead Sea. It's between the second and third grid boxes there in that column, same column as the Dead Sea. So that's the Sea of Galilee. AKA Sea of Tiberias, AKA Sea of Gennesaret, AKA Sea of Kinnereth.
My goodness. What is it today?
T-A?
Sea of Galilee.
Is the,
Yeah, I got two G's.
But in Hebrew, it's Kinnereth.
oh, that's the way, okay.
It's like the word, I was like, goodness, like that word.
This one's called the Sea of Kinneret.
So now we're gonna connect the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea with a river, and that's the Jordan River. So if we're gonna make kind of a squiggly between the two, the Sea of Galilee connects downstream to the Dead Sea by the Jordan River.
All right, Jordan
Are they showing this part on the maps in the news of late? Are they
This is a little
west?
further east than probably those maps will show, but
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
I'm just trying to, I'm looking for
That's the
it.
Jordan River?
that's the Jordan River. All right, Jordan River, connected the two. Okay, now we got a couple mountains. To the right of the Mediterranean Sea there is Mount Carmel.
That's the Jordan Sea, the Jordan River.
And then way up there in the northeast is Mount Hermon. Jordan River really starts up in Mount Hermon, and that's where it thaws and melts.
It's purple.
Hermon.
What's the mount on the left?
That's Mount Carmel.
Thank you.
Carmel.
Carmel.
I remember that from Elijah and the prophets of Baal story. That's where that whole showdown took place.
What's
The
the other
three
mountain?
sweet mountains, Nougats, Mount Nougats. Nougat.
Moine.
Never heard of that one.
Don't ask me.
Sweet caramel nougat.
Oh,
Three. And then, what's the top mountain?
Hermon, Hermon.
How about Harmoin?
Isn't that a Harry Potter character?
I don't know. That was off the cuff.
Close enough, as long as you remember the H one. But not Horeb.
Harmoin.
But not Horeb. Yeah, Horeb would be way down in the Sinai desert there. All right, got our two mountains.
Guess what?
You guys are gonna have this all hanging on your
Jeez.
fridge tonight.
See that?
Now we got some more rivers. The Yarmuk,
Yarmouth.
under the Sea of Galilee there, Yarmuk, Y-A-R-M-U-K. From the, just south of the Sea of Galilee over toward the Arabian Desert.
Does that come into the Jordan or branch off the
Branches off from
Jordan?
Yeah. Three more. The Jabbok. Jabbok.
Ever heard of these before?
They come up in the Old Testament, yeah.
Get real far east of the Jordan in the Old Testament.
Fair enough. All right. And then you have the Arnon in the middle of the Dead Sea to the right there, the Arnon. A-R-N-O-N. Let me know if I'm going too fast, if you need me to backtrack.
John's not doing it.
I'm doing it on the screen.
Oh, yeah?
So where's the inflows of all this and outflows?
So everything starts up at Mount Hermon there. It kind of flows down north to south. And the Dead Sea is gonna be the ultimate, it's like 1,500 feet below sea
But
level.
everything comes from the north and then it flows to the right on the rivers,
Yeah, yeah.
all the way down to the Dead Sea. Okay.
And last one, the Zered, Z-E-R-E-D, way on the south end of the Dead Sea. In between those rivers, we're gonna put some neighboring enemies here in a little bit, so kind of some of the boundaries that separated them.
Any good fishing in there?
Sea of Galilee there is,
Not so much in the Dead Sea.
not so much in the Dead Sea.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
All right, so there's our 4 rivers, 5 total if you include the Jordan. All right, now here's where we're gonna, so here's where you gotta get a little particular. What we're gonna, where we're going at the end of this is we're gonna show make it into like a valley. Okay, so trust me as I show you these lines. So a line from, now you can, that's 4.
Yeah.
Here's your Sinai Desert. Go 1, 2, 3, 4 over from above the Sinai Desert. Start in that corner. And real thin, don't go too far over. You're staying in this same column the whole time. Go up to the middle of that same column. Up to the middle of that same column. Real short angle there. So you're the 4th one over from the left. And a real small angle up to the middle of that same column. So don't go outside the column.
Okay, see that. Okay.
All right. Got that? And we're gonna get a little more detail with that. So, this is the line you just drew. From that, in the same column. What we wanna do is make it flow, this is gonna be like a mountainous area, and then it goes down into the plains here. So, however you wanna do this, straight lines here, and angled lines this way, so you see how it turns into like a little valley here toward the sea, if that makes sense. That's the point, we wanna show it flows, it goes down this way, topographically, I guess. Again, excuse my freehand Microsoft Paint or whatever I used 15 years ago when I made this.
Oh, good.
What are those top lines?
So, again, the point of it is you want to see how it kind of looks like it's going down and then flat. You want to make it, you're going from the mountains down this way, so diagonal, 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 straight, straight, straight. And at the end of the day, it should kind of look like you're
Going down.
going downhill toward the sea. And you don't have to draw every single one if you do half the whatever to make it, just make the point that it goes down that way. You don't have to be exact in the number of lines you draw. Okay? Now we're gonna go down the other direction. So however many lines you drew here, going this way, take the other side of that line and go down.
There's a river coming out.
Yeah, well, so-
Galilee, yeah.
Technically, yeah, this is like, kind of, it goes this way, but the river, Mount Hermon is where kind of it starts and then it flows down into the sea, so the Rift Valley is gonna be what this is in the middle, so mountainous valley, shoreline, go down toward the Sea of Galilee with those same lines. So you've kind of just drawn a little mountainous area, haven't you? Okay. All right. Now we can also write in, somewhere in this kind of general vicinity, just write in Galilee, or if you want to write it, well, you can't really write it on the side. Yeah, just write somewhere in here, this area, Galilee. So remember, Jesus grew up in Galilee. That's Nazareth, that's Cana, that's Capernaum. All those cities are up there in Galilee. You can remember that easy enough, because Galilee's by the Sea of Galilee. All right, so now, same deal here with, we're going, this is a valley, we want to make this river valley. So you're gonna go from this up and over, up and over, up and over. Makes sense? See how we've made a river valley here? And we've made the coastal plains here. When it all gets drawn out, it makes a little more sense, but you can kind of see what we're trying to accomplish. And once you get those lines drawn and made your little valley, by the sea. That's the Aram, land of Aram, the Arameans. If you remember the story of Naaman and Elisha, Naaman was the head of he was the commander of the army of Aram. So Elisha, and remember that story, are rivers in Aram, the Pharpar, and I forget the second one, cleaner than the Jordan? Why would you have me wash in the Jordan? And
You want
Elisha says-
Phoenicia up there?
What's that?
Phoenicia, you want to put Phoenicia?
So Phoenicia's kind of up in this area too. Yeah, it's gonna be like Tyre and Sidon. You could if you want. Yeah, sure.
I saw it on the slide and you didn't mention it.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I? Oh, yes. Thank you. Skip that. Phoenicia, I skipped it, I apologize. If you go back a couple, this up here north of Mount Carmel, that's Phoenicia. So that's where Jezebel's from, that's Tyre and Sidon. That's that area.
Where's Galilee then?
Right next to it.
Right next to
Oh,
On the coast, the Phoenicians are on the coast.
okay.
Galilee's more inland. Sorry. Thank you, Karen, for pointing that out. And then the Arameans are over there. So we got Phoenicia, we got Galilee, we got Aram. The Valley of Jezreel. All right, here's it gets a little funky here,
Yes.
but
Just the middle of it.
don't worry about those mountains. As far as their names, just make the lines. Don't worry
Just
about
make the
mountains.
line.
Just make those straight lines and write Valley of Jezreel here. This is all just kind of a mountainous region.
How did I get two mountains
The
down?
two important ones are Hermon and Carmel.
Wait a minute, I got some here.
Oh, wait.
So the Valley of Jezreel, this is when I talk about the Battle of Armageddon. Some of the prophets talking about the Valley of Jezreel.
He's got a couple
Fertile,
of
very
mountains
fertile
there.
area.
No, I got the Mount Carmel.
Yeah, but he's got two other mountains
Yeah,
that,
don't worry about this.
He said
This
don't
is
worry
Carmel,
about-
this is Hermon.
We don't worry about the other one?
Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna have you name those. You could draw them in. There's a bunch of mountains in this whole area. All right, Valley of Jezreel. So now down here above the Sinai Desert in your bottom left. This is called the Negev.
Valley of how do you spell that?
You got a little triangle here.
J-E-Z.
Negev. So it's definitely not deserty down there. It's Shephelah, and it's very, so if you think about the three main, we're gonna talk about it at a future time, but grapes, down here grapes were very much the cash crop. In Samaria, grains and wheats,
I got lost.
and up here in Galilee, a lot more olives. And so it's all Mediterranean climate, or so Mediterranean grapes and olives and wheats and grains. But the Negev, you're gonna find a lot of grapes down in that area. All right. The land of the Philistines. So from the Negev north. So this is the Gaza Strip, as you think about it today. This is where all that action's happening today. In the word Philistia, you see Palestine. The Greeks renamed this whole area Palestine. And they've been fighting for years about whose land is this. Is it the land of the Arab people? Is it the land of the Jews? But this all kind of along the shore here is the land of the Philistines. And we've all been around long enough to know about the turmoil that has happened even in the past century in this area. So the Philistines, right? You think about like the book of Judges, you hear about the Philistines quite a bit. Samson and the Philistines were a thorn in the Israelites' flesh for quite some time. Okay, we got the Philistines listed. If you can do it, if you didn't draw the line all the way over. You remember we made this real sharp angle?
Yeah.
We want to kind of go down into a valley here too. Again, we're just trying to prove the point it goes down toward the Mediterranean Sea. So if you have room, draw little lines going up from where you drew your Philistine lines to give the effect of the down toward the sea, down toward the sea. So you got the Phoenicians, you got the Arameans, you got the Philistines, you got Galilee.
You put the Arameans.
They're on the
Where'd you put the
right,
Arameans?
by the river.
Oh, up there, okay.
All right. Well, again, we're trying to make mountains here in the middle, and we're gonna go down into this Rift Valley, so where you made those lines going up, go down toward the sea and down toward the river. Now we're gonna add Samaria and Judah. This would be Samaria. This would be Judah. So Galilee in the north, Samaria in the middle, Judah in the south. Kind of controversial, right? When Jesus went through Samaria to get to Galilee and met that woman in John chapter 4. You're not supposed to be talking to me, you're a Jewish rabbi and I'm a Samaritan woman.
This is the Negev, which is the land of the Philistines.
There's Samaria in there.
Right there.
We'll have time to get to that, we'll talk more about that in the other PowerPoint. But for now, just label Samaria and Judah.
What do you do? He didn't do anything yet.
Okay, got Samaria and Judah. You have your mountains here in the middle, you have your valley here, you have it going down into a valley toward the Mediterranean Sea also. Some more enemies, Ammon, the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Edomites. Edom way down there, those are the children of Esau, the Edomites, so this would be Edom down in this area. Moab, north of Edom, the Ammonites up here. Okay, Edom, Moab, and Ammon. That's it. So nowadays, go back to your map here. You talk about like the Gaza Strip, right? You talk about Jerusalem's going to be down in this area. Remember, there's like you hear about the West Bank. So the West Bank is all Palestinian controlled, even though in like Bible times this is all Israel. Now the Jews aren't in control. The West Bank kind of goes like this, and Jerusalem's sort of here, and then Israel kind of has, you have the Gaza Strip. This is all like West Bank, and then Israel kind of goes up this way. Then you have like Lebanon up here, and, or Syria and Lebanon. So yeah, you got your Hamas down here, you got your Hezbollah up here, and you can see how we're going to show on a map compared to the United States. This is a very small geographical area for all these people who live there. Number one, with all these different cultures and deep-seated hatred, and I just can't. Don't quote me on it, but every time I hear about issues over there, I think about when they said, "Let His blood be on us and on our children." And I'm I'm not gonna say that's gospel truth, that that's why these things have happened over the centuries, but you did say, let his blood be on us and on our children.
Pastor,
Yeah.
my question has always been, I know they've been doing this for centuries, fighting and killing
Yeah.
and everything else. Is that when it started during Christ's time, or was it before that?
Before that. Let me think back to the Old Testament. The sons of Ishmael were fighting with the sons of Abraham. And yeah, this is all, you can go back.
Thousands of years.
You know, yeah, the Israelites have had thorns and they're all related, right? If you go back far enough, you got Lot's kids and you got Esau's kids, and Israel wants to pass through and they say, nope, not this way. And all right, well, let's fight about it then. So yeah, it goes back thousands of years.
And it'll probably continue.
Yes, yes. Well, there you go. Good job, map drawers.
You're gonna walk around.
I trust you, I trust you.
We're not getting graded, thank you.
So let's talk about it just for a few minutes, some of these places you drew. It really is, when you think about, God promised you this land flowing with milk and honey, right? The original kind of quote to Abraham. Geographically, when you think, it's just remarkable. Everything going on in this little tiny area. It's one thing in the United States, you got your mountains and your plains, and you can go here and it looks like this, and go 3 hours this way, it looks like that. You don't have hours and hours there to get from this to this. It all is happening in this crunched up little part of the world. It's 8,000 square miles. It's the size of New Jersey. It's the size of Massachusetts. Think about that on our U.S. map in the Northeast, how tiny those states are compared to even our state, much less a Montana or a Texas or something like that. You have jungles, you have deserts, you have hills, you have mountains, you have plains, and you drew a bunch of that in the last 20 minutes. That's what it looks like in comparison to the United States. Draw it to scale.
No.
And now again, think of how many millions of people live there. Think of all and that's in just the places that are habitable. A lot of the region isn't, because it's mountains. It's very, you can't build your neighborhood on the top of Mount Carmel.
It's people on people.
Yeah, people on people on people. And then to add to that, a lot of them hate each other, and I want to see you not exist anymore. And that's in fact my goal in life, is to get rid of you. That's my number one priority, is to eliminate you. And they live like down the street. It's crazy. Okay, so now I take a big satellite view here, right? So here's Egypt, Nile River Delta. There's your Sinai Peninsula and Red Sea down in there. This is what we just drew. See how you can kind of see the Dead Sea there. The Sea of Galilee if you look real close, but see how fertile this region is. Remember I told you about the Negev, look how green that is especially. So Abraham grows up over here, and this is what you're used to seeing. And one day I'm going to give your descendants this promised land. And I don't know how much they knew about what was going on here, probably not very much. But you can see on a map, well, that would have really looked like, this is amazing. Look at this place. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. When the spies went in, what did they see?
Fantastic.
Yeah, the grapes are so big, they gotta carry them on, two guys have to carry them on sticks. It just is, we've never seen stuff like this before. Going a little further, again, there's Egypt on the left. You can see why they worship the Nile River. Look at how much life, not to say they were right, but look how much life the Nile River provided in Egypt. And there's your Holy Land, kind of in the middle of the screen. Dead Sea, you can see on the sort of the oval looking thing that you drew.
That's snow on a mountain to the north?
Yeah. So it gets to be about 10,000 feet in some of those areas. So in the wintertime, you do get some, and then that melts off and helps create the Jordan River. And now a little deeper.
Can you go back one, please?
Yeah,
Is that the island there? Is Cyprus?
that's Cyprus.
Is
Yeah.
that where Paul went?
So his first missionary journey, yep, that's where he goes first. He goes out of Caesarea Philippi and heads over to Cyprus. Yeah.
I never realized.
Or
it was
excuse
so
me,
close.
Antioch. He goes out of Syrian Antioch and he goes to Cyprus. Yeah.
He's not where he wrecks. What was that,
On the way to Rome, they wreck at Patmos. Patmos, yeah. That's up more toward Italy there.
Is there, is there an online audience seeing all this too?
Yeah. Yes.
There, okay.
All right. So now a little deeper. Again, compared to all that desert land around, here's your land flowing with milk and honey. Right? Here's your, notice the Negev there in the southwest. You can kind of sort of see the Rift Valley between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea, Jordan River there. Talk about the Mediterranean Sea. There's Israel's western border, been called the Great Sea. There's the whole Mediterranean Sea. So you got Spain on your left, you got Italy there in the middle, you got Greece to the right of Italy, modern day Turkey up there on the right. So the Holy Land is way down there in the, see where the Holy Land is? Yep. So you think of Paul's missionary journeys. As Dean said, his first one, he goes to Cyprus and then Galatia. This is kind of Galatia up in here. First one, he just kind of does a little like this and then goes back. The second one, he starts up going this way through Galatia, and then he gets over into, this is Ephesus here. You got Philippi, Thessalonica are over in Greece. And third one, he kind of recreates that, and then he sails back. You were talking about his shipwreck. This is Crete here. So when he's on his way to Rome, at the end of the book of Acts,
Crete,
he
not
gets
Patmos.
shipwrecked. Or excuse me, Crete, yeah, Patmos is...
John.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Crete is where Paul gets shipwrecked. John, when he's exiled in Revelation, is on the island of Patmos, which is in here somewhere, I forget where. But one of those little islands is the island of Patmos.
One of the little islands people pay big bucks to go to now.
Jeff Bezos or someone owns it, yeah, whoever bought it. So the Roman Empire, you know, when you talk about the Roman Empire, this was like all of it. This was Rome controlled all that. All right, again, Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee, Israel. We wrote the Arabian Desert. This is maybe a little better view of just how desolate the Arabian Desert is. Not a whole lot of life. There's a lot of oil, but not a whole lot of life going on in the Arabian Desert as far as natural life.
Is that Jordan?
The
The Arabian Desert? Is
That'd
that,
be Saudi Arabia. Isn't Jordan? Is Jordan up here a little further?
Further north.
Yeah, I think that's a little further. This is all Saudi Arabia today, I believe.
okay.
Some Iran and Iraq in there too, eh?
All right, so the Rift Valley, again, this is that area kind of between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. This deep ditch that's between the desert and the Mediterranean Sea ends up going down, if you really want to take it to its terminus, it goes into Africa. Talk about the Jordan River. It's at the bottom of this ditch. So you know the Jordan River from the Bible. What are some stories at the Jordan River? See how many you can name.
Baptism.
Well, that's where he crossed
Jesus'
into the
baptism.
promised
Yeah,
land.
baptism.
Okay, so those are all good. Crossed into the promise. Remember, they came up to the east of the Jordan River, and then they crossed over. So there's Jericho is right on the other side of the Jordan River. Ai. There was some miraculous flood stage. The Jordan River could get pretty deep, so that was another parting of the sea, so to speak. But it was parting of the river. What did you say, Mary?
Jesus' baptism.
Okay, yep. John the Baptist did his work out there, and Jesus was baptized in the Jordan.
Naaman, like you said earlier.
Naaman, yeah. Why should I wash in the Jordan when my rivers in Aram are way cleaner? And Elisha says, just trust me on this one. Remember, his servants say, if he would have told you to do some crazy thing, you would have done it. All he's asking you to do is go to the Jordan River. Why don't you give it a shot and see if it works? And of course it does. Just some different pictures of the Jordan. Yeah, Mary, you mentioned Jesus' baptism. Depending on what time of year and where you look, it can be not as deep. It can be a whole lot deeper. Their rainy season starts in like our winter. So okay, Karen mentioned that one. We mentioned that one. We mentioned that one. talked about Mount Hermon, you drew that. There's talking about the snow on the mountains. Another angle. Pretty good sized mountain. That's where the Jordan River begins up there in the north. 9,200 feet at its tip. I think the tallest mountain we had in Juneau was about 5,000, 5,200. So about double the, think of those Alaskan mountains who've ever been there. About double the ones in southeast at least. Not close to McKinley or something like that. Psalm 133, it's as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. So you see these references, right? Now, next time you hear a reference to Mount Hermon, you kind of understand what's going on.
Where is Mount Zion in this map?
So we didn't draw Jerusalem, but that's the hill where Jerusalem's on. So you drew kind of those mountains down the middle.
Yeah.
Jerusalem, flip the map. Back to it. Yeah, well, I'll show you. It's in Judah. It's in Judea.
Where's Jerusalem?
So you got your Dead Sea. Go straight left of the Dead Sea in the north end of the Dead Sea in the middle of Judea there, that's Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is on a mount, and that's Mount Zion. That's the mount where Jerusalem's located. So you hear about like the Temple Mount, that's all part of Mount Zion. In the Old Testament, that's Mount Moriah, the mountain where Abraham was told to take Isaac to sacrifice him.
Yeah.
And he was ready to do it. And then the angel said, okay, I see you trust me now. That's all in that same area. Sea of Galilee, in Hebrew, Kinneret. Gennesaret's just like a Greek-sized version of Kinneret. Some think Kinneret is the word for like a harp. And if you look at the shape of it, it kind of sort of looks like a harp a little bit. So some wonder if that's where the name Kinneret comes from because of its shape. When the Romans took over, they named it the Sea of Tiberias. There's a town, Tiberias, over there, and the sea it's right on the Sea of Tiberias is the town of Tiberias. So they're all interchangeable. Galilee, Kinneret, Gennesaret, Tiberias, they're all one and the same thing when you hear those. Well, what do we all know happened at the Sea of Galilee? How about there's some Bible trivia? There's some famous events. Okay, Jesus calming the storm, Jesus walking on water.
Fish.
Okay, the miraculous catch of fish. Yep.
Couple of miraculous catches of
Couple
fish.
of them. Yeah.
Wasn't that where Jesus recruited some of his disciples?
Yep. So Peter, Andrew, James, John, and Matthew were all from Capernaum, which is right on the Sea of Galilee. Right on the Sea of Galilee. There's its size, 13 miles long by 7 miles wide. So again, it's not a huge body of water. It's not like Lake Michigan or something like that, 7 miles.
It's akin to
Yeah, what's a lake around here maybe that?
Green Lake.
Okay.
Only this is a little bit bigger than Green Lake. I think Green Lake's about. Oh, it's quite a bit bigger. Probably twice as big as Green
They
Lake.
call it a sea.
So on a clear day, you can see across to the other side, no problem. It's not 150 feet deep at its deepest.
The Green Lake's deeper than that. 200 and some.
Maybe more a lake than a sea, the way we think of the word sea.
Big lake. Well, I call Lake Michigan. That's bigger than that. So back then it was a sea, I suppose.
Lake Tiberias doesn't sound as grand.
Right, doesn't know, it's grandiose. The Romans like to be grand. Obviously, great abundance of fish. There's a reason why Peter and Andrew and James and John had the jobs they had, because that's a lot of good eating there on the Sea of Galilee. Okay, we talked about that. Sermon on the Mount was on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus walked on it, calmed the storm. Fed the 5,000, that's in that area by the Sea of Galilee. The Dead Sea is pretty wild. When you look at some of these statistics, and you probably heard it before somewhere in your geography classes in school, but
Saltwater, right?
yeah, mineral nothing can live. It's just so full of saline. It just is. You've seen people like float on it. You just can't like lay on it and float. 1,300 feet below sea level. Nothing drains out of it. But that 7 million tons of water evaporate per day. Think about
Per
that.
day.
Yeah.
Dang.
So rain's the only thing that replenishes it?
Now it needs it.
Jordan River empties it.
For the Jordan River.
So everything going
That's
on
right.
way up in that mountain range
That's right.
flows down that way.
No waste.
Well, Pastor, according to our map, the Arnon River and the Zered River come off of the Red Sea.
Yeah,
So are they also dead?
that's a good question. Now, I'm trying to rethink, because someone asked that earlier. I wonder if they flow from,
To the-
they must flow this way, now that I think about it. From the east to the west. Because nothing coming out of the Dead Sea,
Okay.
you would not have all
Okay, they
that
flow
greenery to the
opposite
east of
of
that.
what-
They must, I think they start in the mountains to the
Okay.
east of it and flow into the Dead Sea that way. Because there wouldn't be anything green down there if it was going the other direction.
There must be a big salt
Now I'm
deposit.
trying to think of what mountain, there's gotta be some kind of mountain range. I'd have to look at a map. John's looking it up.
Pastor, have you heard that one of the things I've read is that they have found fish that are surviving in the
Really? No, I
Dead
haven't
Sea?
heard. Okay, interesting.
Well, it was done in relation to not necessarily a Christian organization,
Yeah,
but that was a prophetic sign of the end times. Do you
I've not heard that one. I'd be
It- it
curious
was-
what the reference was to that.
that along with the snake in the Wailing Wall
Okay,
were supposed signs of the end times?
trying to think if there's some prophecy in the Old Testament or something that would, nothing off the top. That'd be, yeah, if you could find more about that, let me
Okay.
know. That's the first I've heard of it.
And Zered appears to be at the bottom of a valley surrounded by mountains and hills on all sides.
Okay,
So it makes sense that it would feed from the high places.
right. So it flows toward the Dead Sea, not away from it.
Would appear so. Very pretty.
The Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth.
The lowest point on Earth, right?
It's all nice and green around there.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a lot of
What is an ocean normally?
Salt.
Like 6 or 7%.
so 5 times an ocean.
I don't remember exactly, don't quote me, but it's nothing like that.
That's a lot of salt.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Used to, yeah.
Trying to think how. What's Salt Lake City? Is that Salt Lake? That's also below sea level, right? Trying to think how much below sea level is the Great Salt Lake compared to the Dead Sea?
Salt Lake City elevation.
3.5%.
3.5 is it over?
Yeah.
And the Dead Sea's 10 times that.
Salt Lake City is 1,288 meters above sea level.
What about the lake?
Oh,
It was funny when we lived in Alaska. So
1,283.
that's also above sea level?
That's what it says.
I thought it was below sea level. So you have, the ships would come in, we'd have family come or whatever, and you're right on the water, and then the mountains are right here. And people would ask, what's the elevation here? I'd say, well, there's the sea. There's the water, so you tell me what you think it is. Oh, we're at sea level, yes. You figured it out, you solved the riddle. All right, we talked about the rivers, Yarmuk, Jabbok, that's the famous thing in the Jabbok. Remember Jacob and the stranger he wrestles with before he meets Esau? That happened at the Jabbok River. Arnon we labeled, and the Zered we labeled. Israel and Moab border of the Arnon. John was looking at some pictures of the canyons that those rivers form. And so
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Stones. If you ever been on a river ride near Wisconsin Dells, it reminds me of that, only a little bit more cramped.
ride the ducks.
Right.
Zered ducks. So imagine back in the day crossing these things without all the means we have today. And if you're a bunch of people crossing it, it would be kind of a challenge to get across from point A to point B. There are some pictures of the different, this is more modern day, but talked about Mount Carmel, maybe more of a high plain than a mountain compared to like Mount Hermon. Elijah and the prophets of Baal. There's a statue today of Elijah taking care of one of the prophets. The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. It will burst into bloom, rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God.
On our map, Lebanon is on the north, or is it?
Yeah, Lebanon's north of kind of Phoenicia. They're known for their cedar trees. When Solomon built the temple, he got a bunch of cedar from Lebanon. I think even today the Lebanese flag is a cedar tree. It's a beautiful, like their trees. A lot of cedars up there. Saw a couple more passages that talk about Mount Carmel. Galilee. So we talked about Nazareth, Capernaum, wedding at Cana. So Jesus, when he starts his ministry, it's all kind of happening up there. Makes sense. Peter, Andrew, James, John, probably Matthew too. Jesus has some words for Capernaum when they reject him. I am the bread of life in John chapter 6, that whole section. Not dealing with the Lord's Supper, though some have mistaken it that way. I am the flesh you are to eat, it's my body, have faith in me. But back in the day when the Christians were being persecuted in the early Roman Empire, one of the things they accused them of was being cannibals, because you eat flesh and you drink blood. And the big word for that was Capernaitic eating, because Capernaum was where Jesus gave that sermon about it's my flesh that is what saves you, and you need to eat my flesh. So the Romans took that as an opportunity we can't have these crazy, weird cannibals living among us. They believe in eating people's flesh. We got to get rid of them. Centurion servant, Luke chapter 7. There's Nazareth today. Probably looks a little different than in Jesus' day. Not as many skyscrapers and big apartment buildings. Capernaum, right on the sea. Go down south, talked about the Mount Zion, right? There's Jerusalem. Bethlehem is just outside of Jerusalem. All this is happening down in Judah. So politically today, Israel, if you talk about like your left wing and right wing, remember one of the big issues right now with Netanyahu is a lot of people don't like him because he's trying to make the Supreme Court over there more conservative. Judah is like the real conservative Jews, the real Orthodox Jews. And up to the north and west, Tel Aviv was Joppa, where remember Jonah, that's where he set sail to get away from God. Joppa, that's modern day Tel Aviv. And my buddy who was over there, he said it's crazy. Tel Aviv, you'd think you were in like Vegas. You'd think you were in, so it's just hip and there's clubs and there's action and there's nightlife. And so Tel Aviv is definitely much more progressive up in that area of and that's not in Judah, that would be up in what we would have like Phoenicia on your map. But Judah is the more Orthodox, conservative, so some of it's not quite to the point of civil war in Israel, but there's definitely a clash between Jews as far as their leanings in even day-to-day life, much like there is in our country. There's your Western Wall, right, to the Wailing Wall. You've heard of that, I'm sure. What were you saying about the snake or something in the wall?
Yeah, those were the two things that, this was all part of the tribulation, millennium stuff.
Okay.
Which is why I said non-Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But they were touting it as signs of the end times.
Just need to build a third temple and the end of the world is gonna come. That's what I've been hearing.
Good luck with that in that part of it. Let's see what the Muslims think of that. That's Gethsemane.
Where's that Wailing Wall?
Jerusalem. So that's the western wall of, it would have been Herod's temple, I guess.
Oh.
Remember the Romans came in and ransacked that thing in about 70 AD.
Did anybody ever clean that wall out?
Those little messages that are in there?
I don't know how that happened. I would assume eventually you run out of space.
Somebody comes by the power washer.
We're shut down for the day. Just don't ask questions. You'll have plenty of room to clean tomorrow. Gethsemane means the olive press, right? So that's can still walk there today, where Jesus. That's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is one of the traditional spots where they think the crucifixion happened, that they built a church over there, and so you can go in and you can crouch down, and they have like a stone where that guy is crouched, and that's where many think that this is where the crucifixion happened, and they built a church over that site. So that's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. However, others say, you see how that kind of looks like a skull?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Golgotha was called the place of the skull? And others think that this is the area where Jesus was crucified. Others think the skull just meant a lot of people died there, so it's not that it looked like a skull, it's just that if you go here, you're probably going to end up with your skull on the ground because you're going to die type thing. So is that why it got called the place of the skull? At the end of the day, no one knows for sure, but you can definitely see it. Looks, you can see the eyes and the nose there. And it would kind of make sense to have it more elevated too, so people who are walking by, they could see it. It's not going to be down in some valley, it's going to be up where it's on display for people. This is one of the traditional sites of the Garden Tomb. Perhaps this is where he was buried, perhaps not. So much of it now is folklore, and some people think it was here, some people think it was there. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where, it just matters that it happened. But talked about Samaria, talked about the hills of Samaria. So Samaria was the capital of Israel, the divided kingdom, when you had Judah in the south and Israel in the north. Samaria was the capital of the north. All the kings of Israel would have dwelt in Samaria. I believe that picture on the left is Jericho. So Jericho would have been in Samaria, what eventually became Samaria when it was resettled later. Talked about Jericho there. So remember, the issue with why the Jews and Samaritans hated each other so much is when the Assyrians came in and carried them off, they repopulated that area with some of their people. So you ended up with sort of a half-breed Jew / not Jew, and therefore the Orthodox pure-blood Jews thought they were dogs, they were filthy, they weren't clean, the whole thing with, again, Jesus and the Samaritan woman, you can think of plenty of stories. A good Samaritan, right? It's crazy that a Samaritan would help a Jew. It doesn't happen, and vice versa. But Jesus' point, the original question was, Lord, who's my neighbor? Tell me who my neighbor is. Well, okay, I'll tell you a story about Jews and Samaritans. Everyone's your neighbor. Sinai Desert, you see the Red Sea. Talked about the Negev. Olives, sycamores, grapes, I would suggest as well. A lot of grapes in that area. That's the Dead Sea to the right there. Oh, the Ammonites and the Moabites, all the way back to Lot. Animals love it, a lot to eat. Maybe it's kind of mountainous, so not a whole lot of places for good civilization, but good to feed your sheep. Edomites go back to Esau. And the Ammonites, all those ites, right? You hear about them all the time in the Old. And then this enemy arose, and then God sent these people, and then God sent those people. So the Edomites.
Sorry, what is that part underneath the Dead Sea after below the white?
That's just more of the Dead Sea, right? Just kind of just
There's
keeps.
lines in there?
Yeah, it just.
Is that a bridge?
No, I think that's just kind of the
I
water.
looked at that on a satellite.
Is that still there? Or is it
I think
gone?
they're
Looks like a giant.
harvesting
Cranberries?
minerals or something
Okay.
down there. There's
That would make sense.
crosshatches of roads,
Okay, that would make sense. I'm sure it's very, yeah,
I guess.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of mineral content in there that you could do something with. The Arameans trace back to one of Noah's grandsons. The famous story there again is Elisha and the Naaman and the whole leprosy and his servant, and he came from Aram. So there's your Philistine territory. So again, remember Philistines had those 5 major cities, the 5, we went through, was it Samuel, one of the books, maybe it was Kings, talked about the 5 kings, the 5 cities. Goliath, it's not on this map, but Goliath was from Gath, that was one of the 5 cities. You see Gaza on there, Ashkelon, Ashdod. So nowadays, Ashkelon and Ashdod are part of Israel's territory. Gaza the city, because there's the Gaza Strip and then there's Gaza the city, right? I think there's a Gaza Israel and then there's also the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip now is just that real thin all the way down to Egypt and up the, what do they say? It's the biggest prison in the world or something, the Gaza Strip. You can't leave. So there's like 2 million people in this real tiny little, you talk about how small that, at the original map were Massachusetts compared to Israel. Now take that and go down to a microscopic little area compared to the United States, and that's, you had 2 million people, 2 million Palestinians living in that area, ruled by Hamas. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Surrounded by a fence.
Right, surrounded by a fence, yeah. And did I hear that the Hamas isn't letting them leave?
I don't know
I
about
heard that
that,
last
but they
night.
blew
Yeah.
holes in the fence, which is how they attack.
Right.
Yeah, I heard
So
that
Israel
too.
said, get out, and Hamas said, no.
Well, they use
You're
them
not
for
going.
shields.
And they're going to use them for shields.
Yeah.
And look at how many people they killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the land of the Philistines over there toward the sea. Again, that's the Negev there, that greenish area. And that is the end of it. So, there's going to be another chapter just on the agriculture. We'll dig deeper into the grapes and the grains and the figs and kind of what a basic dietary life of a Jewish person was back in the day. But if nothing else, what we're trying to do is just give you, as you hear these, especially in the Old Testament, right? Okay, kind of have a picture in your mind of what it looked like, and the topography and the hills and the valleys, and when you read some of those passages in the Psalms and other places,
Look at the break, Betty.
the Jewish mind, these things would have come right to mind.
What struck me was the size. I thought it was bigger than that, the whole area.
Yeah, when you see a map, it's like, oh, it's good size, and when you transpose it on, even on like the state of Wisconsin.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's about 1/3 of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wausau to Madison or something like that.
So draw a line from Wausau down to Madison and make a rectangle, something like that, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I guess I haven't looked how many people, it's gotta be, what, 5, 6 million, 7 million, it's a lot of people. Just in that Gaza Strip alone, I know is 2. Jerusalem's quite a few. So, you can take trips over there. I've always kind of, part of me is like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
This last couple of weeks has justified my I'm not sure, because I'd love to see some of those things with my own eyes, but I also am happy to watch YouTube videos of it.
Yeah.
So that looks nice. I'm glad someone went to show me the pictures, 'cause I don't know, it's just too much tension for me. But I'm not a real adventure taker. So. But I'm sure from those who went, they said it's just, when you sit here and say this is where Jesus walked, they said it just is one of the most spiritual experiences ever. Jesus Christ walked right here, right in this area, which I
It
imagine
would
it
be
is.
special, yeah.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
be.
All right. No class next week. I'll be gone. So pick it up 2 weeks from today. Okay. Close with the blessing. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all. Amen. All right.